The opinions and views expressed in Political Talk belong to its commentators and are not those of Nexstar Media Incorporated, this station, or their affiliates or employees.
Welcome to Political Talk with Democratic commentator Dora Leland and Republican commentator Tom Santulli. A group of protesters outside the Chemung County's Hazlitt building in Elmira earlier this week. They were calling the federal and state COVID mandates, such as vaccines and masks, an extreme government overreach and unconstitutional. But is it?
I think all you need to do is look at Supreme Court precedent and you have your answer. There's two cases in particular, and they go all the way back to 1905 during the smallpox epidemic. So there was a case called Jacobson versus Massachusetts. Basically, Massachusetts required all adults over 21 to get a vaccine or face a $5 fine. Today, that would be about $150. So Jacobson, the plaintiff, was an evangelical pastor who claimed that it violated the mandate violated his due process rights to bodily integrity. Well, the court ruled 7-2 against Jacobson, basically saying that Americans do not have the right to harm their fellow Americans by refusing a vaccine, thereby serving as what Justice Harlan called a disease vector. I thought Justice Harlan's decision for the majority was interesting. He basically stated that, and these are the words verbatim, that liberty secured by the Constitution does not import an absolute right in each person to be at all times and in all circumstances wholly free from restraint. And I think this is important to remember. We all have constitutional rights and we value them. They're the cornerstone of our democracy, but they're not absolute. They're not absolute and they're not in entirety. We also have an obligation not to harm others with our rights. This is a topic I teach in my classes. And when I teach this to my students, I always tell them, you absolutely have the rights guaranteed by the First Amendment, so long as you exercising your rights does not present harm to another.
Dora's given all this stuff about history. The one thing they didn't have back then was social media, which really has complicated this thing, I think, a million times over, because you read all this stuff on the internet today in all these fancy titles that people have, and it's so easy. These people could be, have none of these titles, but, people, it's just been very, very confusing. People hear that, they listen to that, and they get affected by that. That stuff complicated what happened here. I mean, think about it. We're still only, 64% nationally have one shot and 55% are fully vaccinated. I think those numbers are terrible. Terrible based on 700,000 people dying as an example of you better do something about this. I really do blame so much on the politicians for not stepping aside on this. I said from the beginning, they should have had a panel of physicians and they should have been the spokespeople on this from day one. Even in our own county, we don't even have half of our population isn't vaccinated. And look at the numbers today. I mean, we've got over 600 cases, nearly 50 people in the hospital. I look at that and say, if that's not motivation to go get vaccinated, I don't know what is. And I don't need a judge to tell me to go get vaccinated. I don't need the government to tell me. Common sense tells me that go get vaccinated.
That will do it for this edition of Political Talk. For this edition and past episodes, simply log on to our website, mytwintears.com. I'm Zach Wheeler, and we'll be right back.